The Book of Enoch, the forbidden book of the Bible. This book was first idolized, but then religious authorities wanted to hide it and all traces of it were lost. Archaeologists found it and this book is now fascinating. What does this text say about angels, forbidden knowledge, hidden traditions, who is Enoch, and above all, why is this book disturbing? In this video, we will investigate together. We will investigate together in a professional and rigorous manner, without hiding anything from you. And yes, you will learn everything about this cursed book. Part 1. A lost and rediscovered text. Because even before delving into the content of this book, it already has a fascinating history. It was present in the Bible. Yes, there is a mysterious book in the Bible, an ancient book that speaks of forgotten prophecies, fallen angels, and a divine cataclysm. This text is quoted in the New Testament itself, and yet it has now been erased from modern Bibles. Jude, chapter 1. Eo, the seventh patriarch after Adam, prophesied in these words, "Behold, the Lord comes with his holy hosts to execute judgment on all and to convict the wicked." Yes, you heard the epistle of Jude correctly. The New Testament itself directly quotes this lost book. So why was it banned and what was so disturbing about it? Was it a mere legend or a truth that people tried to erase? Luke chapter 8, "For there is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, nothing secret that will not be known and brought to light." A book cited in the Bible but excluded from the canon, the Book of Enoch. Once respected, once studied and quoted. This text was known to the first Christians. It even influenced Judaism and even Islam. But in the 4th century, it disappeared. Why? Too detailed on the history of the fallen angels. A vision of the Last Judgment that could disturb religious authorities, an embarrassing influence on the theology of the early church and that of the Son of Man. But what exactly does this book contain that could have disturbed religious authorities? Let's start by looking at the rediscovery of this text that has troubled religious authorities for so long. The rediscovery of the Book of Enoch. For centuries, the Book of Enoch disappeared from Western tradition. Only a few fragments of it remained, lost in a few scattered libraries. But in the 18th century, everything changed. 1773, Ethiopia. Guardian of a forgotten secret. James Bruce, a British adventurer, discovered several complete copies of the Book of Enoch in that country during his expeditions to Ethiopia. Written in Ge'ez, the liturgical language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So why did Ethiopia, the only country in the world, keep this book, which has now disappeared from other Christian Bibles? But the story doesn't end there. The real revolution came in 1947. 1947, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Archaeologists discovered fragments of the Book of Enoch in Aramaic, the language spoken at the time of Jesus himself. Irrefutable proof that this book was well known to ancient Judaism. This book was not just a text that had been forgotten. It was part of the writings that shaped the religious thought of this people. But then the question becomes even more pressing. Why was it discarded? What was so troubling about it? By rediscovering the Book of Enoch, archaeologists were able to uncover the plan of a complex text. The Book of Enoch is not actually a single work, but as archaeology has revealed, a compilation of several ancient writings attributed to a single patriarch, the biblical patriarch named Enoch. Specialists distinguish three major texts that together form the tradition of Enoch. First, there is the first Book of Enoch, known as the Ethiopian, which has now been rediscovered. Then, the second Book of Enoch, known as the Slavic Enoch. And finally, the third Book of Enoch, known as the Hebrew Enoch. These texts, written at different times and in different languages, Aramaic, Slavic, and Hebrew, each explore various themes ranging from the fall of the angels to the mystical ascension of the patriarch Enoch as the angel Metatron. A vast, immense literature. But where to begin? Well, for specialists, among these three texts, there is a reference text from which the others were grafted, the first Book of Enoch, known as the Ethiopian Enoch. For specialists, this is clearly the oldest book on which the others were grafted. These other two books are considered more mystical books, writings influenced by apocalyptic literature and the Kabbalistic tradition. We will therefore study this first Book of Enoch as a priority. But first, who is Enoch? Part 2, Mysterious Biblical Enoch. Genesis chapter 5, Enoch walked with God and then he was no more because God took him. A single verse, an enigmatic sentence, no explanation, no details. 3 words, God prays to him. But what does this sudden disappearance mean? Unlike Noah, Moses or David, Enoch is a ghost in the Bible and yet his destiny is unique. Why is he so important? Enoch is one of the rare characters taken up to heaven without dying, as Elijah would later be. Mentioned in the New Testament, this is evidence that his story was well known to early Christians. A central figure in the apocalyptic writings of ancient Judaism. But the ancient Jews and early Christians did not like unsolved mysteries. They wanted to understand what this enigmatic phrase God took him was actually hiding. And so the first Book of Enoch was born. Enoch, a witness to the heavenly world. The Book of Enoch tells a fascinating story. Enoch was not simply taken by God, he was transported to the heavens to receive extraordinary revelations and travel through the celestial orbs. In the Book of Enoch, chapter 14, a cloud enveloped me and I was lifted up to the heavens. I saw a house built of crystals and a flaming fire surrounded its walls. This is what the Book of Enoch affirms. Enoch is taken through several heavens. He discovers the throne of God and angels praying. He receives visions of the end times and the last judgment. But this ascension was only the beginning. What Enoch sees and hears will turn the history of theology upside down in the next part, the rebellion of the angels and the origin of evil. Part 3, The Fall of the Angels, the Book of the Watchers. There is a mysterious passage in the Bible, a text so disturbing that only a few enigmatic verses remain. A single verse in the Bible that speaks of mysterious beings. In Hebrew, the Nephilim. It speaks of celestial creatures who came down to earth, of titanic giants and a time of absolute chaos. Who were these beings? What role did these giants play in the history of humanity? Genesis chapter 6. When men began to multiply on the face of the earth and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful and they took them as wives of those they chose. Who are these sons of God that the Bible speaks of? Who are these Nephilim when we return to the Hebrew vocabulary? And why is the Bible strangely vague about this time? The Book of Enoch with Enoch's visions and his heavenly journey gives us an answer, and it is terrifying. The story of the Watchers when the angels rebel. According to the Book of Enoch, these sons of God are not simply men, they are angels. A group of 200 angels called the Watchers, led by their leader Semyaza, they make an irreversible decision. EOC Chapter 6. They said to one another, "Come, let us choose wives from the daughters of men and beget children." And Shemias said to them, "I fear that you will not be willing to do this, and that I alone must atone for your sin." So they all swore together to remain faithful to him, and they bound themselves by a mutual oath. An oath that would turn the world upside down. The Nephilim, man-devouring giants. From these forbidden unions were born the Nephilim, titanic beings with superhuman strength. But very quickly, these creatures became a scourge. Eo Chapter 7. The women conceived and gave birth to great giants whose height reached 300 cubits. They began to devour everything produced by the labor of men. And when men could no longer feed them, the giants turned against them and devoured them. A world on the brink of extinction. But the rebellion of the Watchers did not stop there. Forbidden knowledge. When the angels taught men sorcery, they transmitted forbidden knowledge to men, secrets that God had forbidden them to reveal. Among the teachings, Azal learned how to forge the first weapons and taught the art of war. Chimiaza reveals the secrets of witchcraft and divination to men. Barakel teaches astronomy and the interpretation of the stars. Enoch Chapter 8. Azazel taught men how to forge weapons, shields, and armor. Chemiaza taught enchantments and medicinal herbs. Men then learned secrets that corrupted them and led them to evil. Humanity is now corrupt, irredeemable, the wrath of God and the punishment of the Watchers. Faced with this corruption, God decides to intervene. He sends 4 archangels to restore order. Uriel to warn Noah of the impending flood. Raphael to chain Azazel underground. Gabriel who ensures that the Nephilim kill each other, and Michael who imprisons Chiaza and his accomplices until the day of judgment. Enoch Chapter 10. Go against the bastards and the offspring of the Watchers. Destroy the children of evil and make their presence disappear from the earth. Bind Azazel and cast him into eternal darkness. The flood wipes out the corruption of the Watchers, but their story lives on. What if this story was not just a myth? What if the Book of Enoch contained a prophetic message for our time? In the next part, Enoch's visions of the Last Judgment, Hell, and the Kingdom of God. Part 4. Enoch's Visions. If the first paragraphs of the Book of Enoch and the Book of the Watchers revealed to us the fall of the angels and the corruption of the world, what follows takes us even further into the afterlife. Enoch claims to have been taken up to heaven, where he contemplated the mysteries of the Last Judgment, the destinies of souls after death, and the kingdom to come. This journey poses an essential question for us. What happens after death? Enoch Chapter 14. A cloud enveloped me and I was lifted up to heaven. I saw a house built of crystals, a blazing fire surrounded its walls. The earth trembled beneath me and I was filled with fear. A journey to the edge of the invisible world. A journey that tells us about heaven, hell, and an intermediate place that today's Christians call purgatory, the ascension of Enoch and the structure of the afterlife. Unlike the classical prophets who receive visions on earth, Enoch is taken directly to heaven. He discovers a universe structured on several levels: what awaits us after death, places of light, but also abysses of darkness, places reserved for the souls of the righteous, but also places reserved for the souls of the wicked. The invisible world according to Enoch, the first heaven, the home of the angels who observe the earth; the second heaven, a prison where rebellious angels are chained; the third heaven, a paradise garden reserved for the souls of the righteous; then the fourth heaven, a kingdom of light where souls await resurrection shine; the fifth and sixth heavens, the angelic armies ready for judgment; the seventh heaven, the throne of God where the Ancient of Days sits. EOC Chapter 39. I was transported to a place where the glory of God shone. There, I saw the souls of the righteous, luminous as stars, awaiting the day of judgment. But not all souls have the same destiny. Some already enjoy divine peace. Others await their purification, and still others await their punishment in suffering. The waiting of souls, paradise, purgatory, and the abyss of darkness. In the Book of Enoch, souls do not disappear after death. They are placed in different places according to their life on earth. Three main destinations emerge. The three destinies of souls. 1. The abode of the righteous, a place of light and peace where souls await the kingdom of God. A place of waiting and purification. An intermediate space where, yes, you heard correctly, some souls suffer temporarily before reaching the light. 3. The abyss of darkness, an endless chasm reserved for the impious. Enoch Chapter 22. The souls of the righteous will be lifted up and shine like the stars of heaven, while the souls of the impilled will have a terrible fate. This mention of the souls of the righteous shining in the sky like suns is also found in the New Testament, an unexpected place in the mouth of Jesus himself in the Gospel according to St. Matthew. While the second place of waiting surprisingly corresponds to what Christian theology would later call purgatory, a place where St. Paul says, souls will enter paradise but as if through a flame of purification. A place where some souls, although saved, must still be purified by fire before entering the kingdom of heaven. Quote from the Book of Maccabees, Chapter 12, "It is therefore holy and salutary to pray for the dead so that they may be delivered from their sins." Thus, Enoch gives us one of the first visions of an intermediate state where some souls must still hope to reach divine glory. Hell in the Book of Enoch. Eo Chapter 21. I saw a pit without hunger, burning with eternal fire. The flames rose without ever going out, and the smell of sulfur filled the air. An angel said to me, "This place is the prison of fallen angels and the souls of the wicked." Long before the Apocalypse of John, the Book of Enoch describes a terrifying vision of hell, a place of eternal suffering where rebellious angels and ungodly souls are imprisoned until the final judgment. The return of the Son of Man is the final judgment. Eo Chapter 46. And behold, there was one whose appearance was like a man, and the Ancient of Days sat on his glorious throne, and this man was brought before him. This Son of Man is the one who will come to judge the nations. A figure strangely reminiscent of Jesus Christ. Matthew Chapter 26. You will now see the Son of Man seated at the right hand of power and coming on the clouds of heaven. But why then, if there are so many connections between the Book of Enoch and the New Testament, did the Church reject this book? In the next part, we will investigate this mystery. Part 5. Why did the Book of Enoch reject? After exploring the disturbing revelations of the Book of Enoch, a crucial question arises. Why was this book excluded from the Bible? If this text was so influential for the early Christians, why did it disappear from the official canon? Censorship, a decision based on precise theological criteria, power struggles, an influential book that has disappeared from the West. The Book of Enoch was read and studied in Second Temple Judaism. It influenced several religious movements, including the Jews of Qumran who possessed copies of it, including the famous Dead Sea Scrolls. There were still early Christians who quoted this text in their writings. Some church fathers such as Justin Martyr Irene of Lyons. Irene of Lyons, himself the first great bishop of Gaul, the disciple of St. John, Irene speaks of it with respect. And even the book of Jude in the New Testament, behold, the Lord came with his myriads of saints to exercise judgment on all and hold the impure to account. But in the 4th century, a radical change took place. The church decided to exclude it from the biblical canon and it disappeared. Why? An overly mythological vision. Unlike the more sober accounts of Genesis, the Book of Enoch delves into a supernatural world populated by hybrid beings, cosmic vision and spectacular divine intervention. Did the nascent church want to avoid interpretations that were too detailed, too mythological, too far removed from the sober accounts of the Bible and the origin of the world, and too much importance given to fallen angels? In the canonical Bible, the one that tradition will retain, Satan is the central figure of evil. But in the Book of Enoch, several rebellious angels play a key role in the corruption of humanity. Why give so much space to fallen angels when Christian theology focuses on the relationship between God and man? A conflict with the doctrine of original sin. In the traditional Bible, evil comes from original sin, from Lucifer, Satan who tempts Adam and Eve, but ultimately, it is humans who sin and introduce evil onto the earth. Man is fully responsible for his fall. In the Book of Enoch, evil comes first from the fallen angels who corrupt humanity, who have almost no choice since they are taught divinatory arts, witchcraft, corruption, and war. Humanity is first a victim in the Book of Enoch before becoming an agent of sin. This vision probably seemed to contradict Christian theology, which emphasizes freedom, individual responsibility, and the human dignity of man who, before God, can choose between good and evil. The role of St. Augustine and St. Jerome. In the 4th century, two major figures in Christianity accelerated the exclusion of the Book of Enoch. St. Jerome, translator of the Vulgate, refused to include it in the ancient Bible. St. Augustine, in the City of God, considered that this text contained too much speculation about angels. The councils of the 4th century, such as that of the Odyssey, would then definitively establish the list of inspired texts, and Enoch would not be included. The only exception was the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, far from the Roman cultural orbit, far from the writings of St. Jerome and St. Augustine. The Ethiopian Church would keep the Book of Enoch in its canon to this day. The Book of Enoch raised too many questions. It spoke of a son of man before Jesus. It developed a different vision of evil. It detailed celestial mysteries that the Church preferred to frame with a certain sobriety. But today, it has resurfaced. Should we ignore it? Why is this forgotten text so fascinating today? Does it contain a prophetic message for our time? Part 6. The Book Enoch. A prophetic vision still relevant today. We have explored the Book of Enoch, its influence on early Christianity, its exclusion from the biblical canon, and its mysterious return to our time, but one question remains. Does this book still have something to tell us today? Is it simply an apocalyptic text from the past or a revelation for our time? One thing is certain, only by rigorously studying the Bible and Christian tradition can we see the truth. And that truth is this: was not the Son of Man Jesus? And were not the heavens visited by each those heavens where charity will triumph? Where love will conquer?